I want people to feel proud that they are working on their mindset. I want people to walk past another person wearing Limitless Slides and to be like, oh, you're working on your mindset, or, oh yeah, we're embracing this confident self-talk. Like, we're trying to like be our own best friend right now and not make it weird that we're doing that. There's the entrepreneur world, but then there's the human world. I like being that person that people feel comfortable to open up to. If we could create more of a society where everybody just knows we're doing the same shit and one day we're not going to be here anymore. We're feeling the same things. We're balancing our children, our finances, our relationships, ourselves. We want to still look good and feel good as we get older. Like, we're all in it.
Happy birthday to you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the No Have Cakes podcast. My name is Jim Sabellico, and I am your host for this show. Now, this show is our Wednesday full-length version of the show. If you're new here, just a real quick recap. Mondays, I do a Mindset Monday episode. It's meant to give you a powerful, positive perspective to start the week. Saturdays, I do something called a strategy sprinkle, a little play off the cake, just to give you a real quick, practical, tactical strategy, something that you can implement to level up your personal or professional life. These shows, in particular these Wednesday shows, is where I like to sit down with the guest, someone who has done something, someone who has been through some things, someone who's got some life to share with us. We just have a real raw conversation about that life and invite you along for the ride. So today's guest, someone who has done a tremendous amount of work in the mindset space, in the self-talk space, a lot of just absolute amazing positivity. I can't even begin to describe how much, literally so much, that she had to create a footwear company called Limitless Slides so she can walk in greatness, is how much greatness this woman has put together. Esteemed college athlete, like the list of accomplishments goes on and on. So I will spare some of them to give her something to talk about. But our guest today, Lisa Rizzo, thank you for joining me.
Oh, Jim, thank you so much. I mean, that just made me feel really awesome, that whole introduction. So I am fired up, ready to go. And I'm really honored to be here. I listened to some of your episodes and I'm really grateful to be here. You've got a great podcast. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I'd love to talk more about kind of how you got into this. And I know you have your VBS approach. So I'd love to talk about that at some point. Just fill me in, like, where did this come from for you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I always say, like, I have definitely always been an entrepreneur from a very young age. Even at 10 years old, when it would snow, I would go to my neighbors' houses and look like a boy because they wouldn't hire me to shovel their driveway if I looked like a girl, I learned. So I would bundle up and I would charge $20 to shovel their driveway. And I was always like, people were doing lemonade stands and I was doing like bracelet stands. I was always trying to find ways to create, definitely always leading with creating for myself and also making money. I grew up in very humble beginnings, a single mother who raised my brother, sister, and I by herself by cleaning houses. And I lived, I would say, a very, it was a tough childhood. I mean, it was four of us in a 2-bedroom apartment, and my mom worked a ton. So I saw what that side of life was, but I always wanted more for myself. So I contribute the VBS system, which stands for visualization, body language, self-talk, to things that I actually practiced as a child, better yet known as my imagination. And then also body language when I had to act a certain way as the only girl on a baseball mound, or self-talk when I had to amp myself to feel worthy to be where I was in a Catholic school. They let me go to a Catholic school for free with how we were growing up. And I had to convince myself I belong. So everything that I do now really started after a lot of reflection, like when I was a kid. But it just didn't have the fancy terms and the studies behind it. That's what I was just doing to have a better life for myself and a better reality for myself in that moment. So I think I've always been an entrepreneur. I was always a little bit of a badass. I always wanted to make a lot of money because I grew up poor. But then I just had a great imagination, and I knew how to turn it on when I had to. So I say my childhood really got me to, led to what I do now, and is my driving force still. I still have that little girl in me that, doesn't forget where I came from. That's why I keep going.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think, so much credit to you for doing that. And I'm sure it inspires other people who might be in that similar situation to look at what's possible when you don't put limits on yourself and you show up and you walk all this out. I got to ask, are there examples of that you've seen, kind of people who've said, hey, because you've done this, I've been able to do this?
I have. So with how I grew up, I mean, now I do a lot of inspirational talks. I really don't like the word motivate, even though I've used it my entire life. I'm starting to kind of get a little bit more picky with the words that I say, because the word motivation to me comes from a place of lack, and like motivation, you're always just looking for that end pleasure win, So I like the word inspire. So I do a lot of inspirational talks to teenagers, to adults throughout the country. And there was a girl that was struggling with her self-esteem, and she kind of grew up in a similar situation. And she told me that I inspired her to better herself, right? And reach better heights for herself. And that was at a camp many, many years ago. And I just saw this girl maybe 2 months ago. She has her own business, and she looks like she feels great. She tells me she feels great. And she says it's just from that one time I shared my story with her that resonated with her for her entire life. And that's why I do what I do. I think it's important to always remember your why, but the more I share and the more I get comfortable with sharing the reality of starting a business or, growing up a hard knock life and being proud of making that my power story, I feel I connect more with people that way, instead of acting like, oh, this is, overnight success and nothing was ever hard. And, so I heard that, and that was the most recent one that really hit me, it keeps me going for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. So much credit to you for showing people what's possible. And I think that for a lot of us, having an example of possibility really changes things, right? Where, we might grow up in a certain environment that it's just normal. And I think a lot of us either get stuck living that same experience over and over again, or we see that example of possibility where we're like, hey, there's a different way to do this. So just want to honor you for being that example for so many people and not letting yourself stay stuck.
Thank you. And I really appreciate that, because I'm always go, go, go. So what I constantly try to work on with myself is giving myself that credit, like, hey, you've come far, because I'm always on to the next. And I think that's
Right.
a problem. Sometimes the entrepreneurs are like, oh, this was great. Oh yeah, I created this. And, like other people are like, wow, you just did that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, on to the next. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So it's just the way of thinking. So what I'm working on now is being like, hell yeah, Lee, like sit in that a little bit, So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you touched on a great point. For a lot of people, it's, when you're in that hustle and grind mentality, which I hesitate to say grind a lot, because to me, grinding is a very destructive process, and it's taking away from who you really are. But hustle and grind is a very common term that a lot of people use, so we'll go with it.
Yeah.
You don't stop to celebrate the wins, right? You're like, all right, cool, I did the thing, I checked the box, all right, cool, what's next? And you get, sort of that Mamba mentality, if you want to go with, where you're just so dead set focused on what you're looking to accomplish, the bigger picture, right? Job's not done, you got more work to do, but you have to be able to stop to celebrate your wins. It doesn't have to be this huge thing, right? So I'd love to hear your perspective on that, on taking the time to kind of celebrate the wins.
Yeah. I'm definitely trying to do that more, because I just launched Limitless. So it's Limitless Slides. It's affirmation footwear. And they've never existed before. Like, I patented a system where you could interchange different words of affirmation on a slide so you could see it constantly. I have been in the grind mode because we launched just 10 months ago, but I have other businesses that I launched 15 years ago that are running themselves now, right? So when you're in that grind startup phase, it is difficult to remember to celebrate the wins until you get to a point sometimes when you're like, oh my gosh, like you hit that point when you're like, you're just going and you're spent and you're done. Sometimes it's moments like that that remind people like, look how far I've come. Let me give myself some credit here, because that's what gets you going again. So what I like to do now is like, I don't want to get to that point ever again of like, like I'm here and I need to pick myself back up. I want to make sure that I'm constantly dedicating some time to share the things that I've accomplished so far. And that's always in the morning. In the morning before I do anything, I write down what I've accomplished in the past month, and then also what I'm grateful for and what I plan to accomplish as well. So that's a good cue for me to, to instill that in my daily routine.
Yeah, I think, you hit on something so powerful there that like when we're kids, it's very normal for us to go through this imaginative behavior and to just imagine what life will be like, or play pretend, or, go through all these things. And as we sort of grow up, we lose a lot of that because it becomes not normal for us. And normal is kind of that 9 to 5. Hey, this is what you go and do. And you shut down these, beliefs that you had when you were a kid, when you believed everything was possible.
Right.
And, I look around so much, having kids of my own, I look at the things that they do and say without any prompting.
Right.
And then you look at adults and you say like, there's a kid in there that once believed anything was possible. And over time, that kid just got shut down so many times where they just don't believe it anymore.
Right.
And I think part of us growing up and becoming who we are is really sort of removing all the layers that society and our parents and whatever else put on us that sort of hushed down who we were as kids.
Right.
And so like when you said there, trying to take that same sort of imaginative behavior as a kid, I fully believe that so many of us are adults who are just, we had it, we still do have it. We just got to tap back into it and forget, all the people who told us, no, you can't, or no, that's unrealistic, or all the stuff that we get kind of pounded into us as we evolve.
Right. And I find it so sad, honestly, when I have a lot of friends that they do well for themselves, but some are not happy at all, and they don't see their kids much, and I feel like a little bit of sadness for them. I don't take too much on because I know, people create their own reality. But I empathize with people. I think that's why I'm able to connect with them. And I feel sad that, this is their kid's childhood, and you can make one decision to kind of shift that story for yourself. Or if you're not in a good relationship or a good marriage and you don't never see your husband and you feel worn out and you don't know who you are anymore and you feel like you lost yourself, you can make a decision to shift that and see something better for yourself. But people go their whole life without seeing something better for themselves, but they weren't like that when they were younger. So I think that's why I'm so passionate in what I do, because I know I'm a walking example. I really should have just been a statistic, like grew up on food stamps and welfare, and, like we grew up like that. And I'm telling you, you really can do what you want in life. And yeah, I worked a million jobs until my first business was successful enough just to run that. I worked my ass off 24/7. I'm working my ass off again with Limitless, but I have a vision and I know what I want in my life. And I want people to believe in that more within themselves. And it's very hard when they're in a situation where their outside environment is very much a realist, nose to the grind. Life sucks. The government is out to get you. People suck. Everybody's a traitor. There's a lot of people surrounded by that. Dreams are for, hippies, that outside environment. Sometimes it's very difficult to get to that freedom of your own personal vision or goal for yourself. So I feel for that, and I always try to inspire, which is why I do what I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's so incredibly important, especially because, for some people who may not have that environment or community naturally because, just luck of the draw where they grew up, whatever it is,
right?
For them to see that example of possibility gives them another path to take, right? It gives them an example to follow. And I think, what you said there and literally what you're walking out in real time is that for people. So yeah, it's amazing to see. And I think the more people who continue to make that one decision where they can start believing in themselves, and I do believe it's as simple as one decision, right? It's not easy, but it's one decision at a time.
Yeah.
There's one little conversation with yourself at a time.
You know what I love to tell people to do is read find a founder of a product that you relate to. Let's just say it's a mom, okay? Who created, let's find a founder that is a mom and has kids that created something that everybody now knows. I believe it was a mother of 3 or 2 that created gibbets that are part of Crocs. And find her story, read her story, see all the commonalities between you two so you can relate to her. So now you're seeing somebody that is exactly like you, raising kids, exhausted, feeling really selfless, like doing that, but she created something. And now you can feel that little bit of inspiration. I don't know if somebody like that would connect to, a guy who wants to build yachts. So find a guy who builds awesome yachts and find that founder story. Every founder has a story, and that's what I think people should really spend some time doing is like find the founder story, because there's work, there's grind, but there's also that self-belief that person had. And you could relate to that person, like Damon John. I love his story, the founder of FUBU and Shark Tank now, Damon John. And I relate to him because of how he grew up. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, find the founder story that you could connect to.
So good. And I think even for people who are not in the entrepreneurial space, who just want a better version of their own life in whatever it is, right? So maybe you're not going to find that story written in a book, but you can find other humans around you and get to know them on a personal level.
Yeah.
Which I think for a lot of people is difficult because it's uncomfortable and awkward. We've made it to a point where it's uncomfortable to have a conversation about real life.
Right.
And I think for, to what you said, to get to know someone on a deeper level, to know, hey, this is what is real life like. These are my struggles. This is what a day in the life looks like. And that's honestly a large part why I even do this show, is to normalize, hey, people who have accomplished things. You and I have accomplished stuff you can put on a Wikipedia page. We are also real humans with real backstories, real struggles. And that's what I want people to understand who are listening to this, to know that like, we are not special unicorns of people. Right? We are average people who just decided to go do a thing and are continuing to do that, even when life punches you in the face, which I'm sure there are plenty of examples that you could probably give of life punching in the face on a daily basis. Right? But we continue to show up because it's what your purpose is.
Right.
And I think there's so much beauty in that.
Yeah. And I like what you said, like there's the entrepreneur world, but then there's the human world, right? And connecting with somebody else even in regards of like their mental health or their relationship, like I like being that person that people feel comfortable to open up to, because I'm a very open, authentic person. Like I just am. And I think that if we could create more of a society where everybody just knows we're doing the same shit and one day we're not going to be here anymore. We're feeling the same things. We're balancing our children, our finances, our relationships, ourselves. We want to still look good and feel good as we get older. Like we're all in it. So I think if we could have more of that dialogue, that's why I love your podcast, because it just opens that conversation. And then you feel more comfortable. Then you feel more like a team. Then you feel like you like yourself more because you're not strange, or not like the norm. And it just allows you just to feel better, a sense of peace, a sense of joy, ease. And I like being that person. I hope to inspire others just to be their authentic self.
Yeah. I love that you just said joy, because, I was thinking when you said earlier about the entrepreneurial space and like what you're doing, you're not selling footwear. You're providing joy. right? And I think a lot of people get mixed up on, in the entrepreneurial world, the goal of a business is to make money. I
Yeah.
don't believe so. The goal of a business is to serve people, right? And I think when you can focus on what the actual net result is, you are not just selling footwear, you are helping people feel better about their lives, right? And it's such an amazing thing to be able to provide a service or a product that allows that for people because of the end result and how much that multiplies out to other people.
Thank you. I honestly, this idea came for Limitless Slides. It was in 2021 and I was at one of our sports camps and there was hundreds of girls there. And I was just in a state of like, wow, that I was one of those moments where I was like, damn, look what you did, you know, because I started with 4 girls coming to my clinics when I was younger. And I just launched my first sports business for female athletes. And I was just looking around like, oh my God, you know, look what you did. And I noticed all of their like Crocs or slides by their bat bags, and just like picture a dugout. They just throw their stuff wherever. And I thought to myself, I do a lot of inspirational talks with athletes, especially. And I thought to myself, like, man, they should be like amping themselves up before they step into their cleats. Like, why don't they have words of affirmation or something just to like get themselves going, you know, like, and I was set, like I really had built something that it was running itself. I didn't have to do another business. I just turned 40 years old and I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to create a line of footwear, affirmation slides, and then closed toe are going to come out. Because I want people to feel proud that they are working on their mindset. I want people to walk past another person wearing Limitless Slides and to be like, oh, you're working on your mindset, or, oh yeah, we're embracing this confident self-talk. Like we're trying to like be our own best friend right now and not make it weird that we're doing that. So I had this idea and it was just the hell yes. It wasn't for the money. It was for the movement. It was for the why. It was for just that mission. It was just, that's what it's for. I didn't have to do this. This wasn't like I'm going to do this and I'm going to get rich, you know? So what you said to your point, it's like, you really have to have a clear why as to why you're doing something, and all the other success comes. And by then you're just feeling so good and so proud that the financial success is just on top of it. And knowing who I am, I would probably do something else to help others with that financial success. You know, it's just because it's like, it's like who I am, you know? So yeah, the why behind, the movement behind all the money and all the success, it comes as it should, you know? So leading with that's important.
I 100% agree. So I'd love to talk a little bit about body language specifically, because we talked about visualization, we talked about self-talk, but I want to dive into body language because I think that's such an important part of our everyday life that most people overlook in how they just physically show up. So what about body language? You know, would you want someone to know to be their best self?
So when I created the VBS system, I went on a journey for 2 years to study what the best athletes in the world do. And it was visualization, self-talk, and body language. How you carry yourself will influence how you're portraying yourself to others, right? So I always thought it was just how we're speaking to others, our body language. And then I did a deeper dive and I realized that it's really how we're speaking to ourselves. So I can stand in a room and just look around when I'm talking and see who really struggles with their self-esteem just by how they're sitting in their chair, and who overall doesn't, and who is like just more ready and there just by their body language. So body language is really how you're talking to yourself because it affects how you feel. And it also shows you're showing up for others. You're showing yourself to others. So it's very basic. It's very old school. From when my grandpa would just tell me, you know, chin up, put your chin up. So I always say chin up, shoulders back, chest out. When you're walking 100%, no matter what. Even if I find myself having a rough day, I know I'm walking into Starbucks and I'm not looking up. I'm looking down if I'm feeling like stressed out or normal human emotions that people have, you know, like people think I have it all together. I'm like, I do this, I deal with this. I'm working on it every day, you know? So like, I notice how I walk when I'm super stressed, but then I notice how I feel when I'm on. And then when I am stressed, now what I do is I force myself to get into that position and I just feel better. And it helps me just like turn it. So that's why I created the VBS system. It's like, how do you feel better quickly for athletes? Like if you're playing a game and you make an error, you don't have time to mope about it and cry about it. You got to find a way to turn it on quickly.
Right.
See that next play, put your body in this position, talk to yourself and be your own hype man. Those are 3 things that really can get you to just like turn it on fast without, hours of therapy before you turn it on. That
Right.
was important to me, especially for my girls, my athletes.
Yeah, I think that's so important. It reminds me a lot of the phrase like look good, feel good, play good. Right? It's how important it is, even just in your normal day to day. When you get up in the morning, you get that shower in, you get dressed, and you choose to put on sweatpants or you choose to put on clothes that make you look good, and that confidence that comes from like how you feel when you look good. Right. And I know it might seem simple, but there's so much power in looking good and feeling good. Right. And that's, to me, I think that extends beyond just a sports arena. I think that, is every day for people, not just like to hype yourself up before you go into a game, but when you wake up in the morning, right? And you talked about it before, how you start your day.
Yeah.
You start your day by preparing to have the best day possible, right? Not just, going for that 90 or, however long, many minutes your sports performance is, but you're 24/7. And I think, all of us have these struggles when you sometimes are going through a rough day. I do it too. You can catch yourself being in a negative mood. And I think that's why it's important to have people around you who are going to call you out on it and tell you, hey, chin up, right?
Yeah. I like that you said that because I can tell when I wake up in the morning, I have such a detailed routine of what I do, right? So I write my gratitude, I do my visualization, but then I make sure as many days of the week I get jeans on. I shower and I put jeans on. Especially, when you make your own schedule and you're just a little more flexible, you can throw on the same pair of pants that you wore the day before and just throw whatever on to save laundry. But no, no, no. You made such a good point. Even if you're just working in your office, I'm in my office all day today. I have jeans and a nice sweater on that I love. I didn't have to get dressed like that, but I made
Right.
sure to always do that. So I do recommend people out there like look good, feel good. And then when you go to the store, shoulders back, chin up, and make eye contact with a couple people and smile at them. I always do that. I force myself to do that no matter what I'm feeling. And you will see how surprised some people are that you're doing it. And you're like, oh, damn, I got to do that more to them, or they need that a little more.
Yeah.
Or they smile back, and it's just like you just like made that little relationship, that little connection, which is really beautiful. So I
Yeah.
always say,
100%.
smile as much as you can to a stranger, and just don't look creepy, or don't obviously, you know, just don't walk around smiling. You got to make it a little meaningful.
Yeah. One of the things I love to do is compliment someone on their shirt, their shoes, their hair, their eyeglasses, because I think, it removes a little bit of the awkwardness of just saying hi, hello, because for some reason that's awkward. I talk about it with my wife all the time. We'll go for a walk and we'll walk past someone else who's walking, and I'll say, hi, good morning. And most of the time it's either someone looking down or I'll just get a
Right,
nod.
right.
1 out of 20 will say good morning back. It's crazy to me that people are so uncomfortable just to say hello to someone walking past, but remove a little bit of that and just say, I like your shirt. I like your
Mm,
shoes.
I
And
know.
for so many people, that compliment also makes them feel good, right? It's such a positive cycle.
Yeah, yeah, and even in elevators too, you always kind of want to like, and I don't think it's everywhere in the country. I have a couple friends down south, and they definitely compliment each other more. But I don't know where you are. Where's
I'm
your?
in New York.
Oh, I'm in New Jersey. All right, so here it's very strange if you say good morning to someone.
Yes.
But I always just try to put in that effort. And that's just the cycle of creating relationships, creating that connectivity, and then just feeling good. I'm such a big believer. Like, we have one life. I don't think 90% of people really realize that you just have one life as this person in this body, in this with these people, you know, and 100 years from now, nobody's going to know who you are, who your aunt was, who your grandfather was. That story's all gone. But I always make
Yeah.
a joke because I'm all over YouTube with my sports videos, and I do a lot of inspirational reels. So I'm like, all right, at least I have the myself on, but actually it'll probably be outdated by then. So I don't know, but we're all gone, you know?
Yeah.
So I wish people
That's,
like realize that a little bit more, you know,
it's
and
such a
live
great
like,
point. And I think too, even just to hammer it home a little further, that assumes we're going to be around till the time that we're 70, 80, 90 years old,
exactly.
right? This could be your last go.
Right.
And I know that sucks to think about, but I might not get tomorrow.
I know,
Like,
it's the
let's be
reality.
real. Unfortunately, things happen. So for me to take advantage of today and assume that like I could waste the day being frustrated about some dumb little thing that isn't going to matter in 5 minutes, but to let it ruin my opportunity to see my wife and kids because I was pissed off about some stupid thing.
Email. Yeah.
Obviously, it's not easy, right? It
Right.
takes a lot of practice, but just understanding how fragile life really is and taking advantage of the time that you have, right? Not taking advantage of it and saying, oh, whatever it is, I can afford to be pissed off, or I'll talk to that person later, or whatever it is. Just enjoy the moment you have and make the best of it, because you might not get that second chance.
Right. And it's also, I'm a parent, and you mentioned you have kids, and that's why, right? You have kids,
Yeah.
and what, you miss your child's birthday because of work or something, right? I
Yeah.
heard
That's
and listened to that
the whole reason for this show.
show. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you want to be remembered? You know, how do you want your kids to think about you if they were to describe you to someone, you know? And I always try to lead with that too. You know, how do I want people to remember me, and what am I leaving behind? What am I doing? And it's not to say that there aren't moments, whether it's an email from someone, or like, you know, just one of those things that just gives you that, oh, are you kidding moment, you know, like,
Yep.
but you overall have a greater picture, a greater view of what you want to do with your life and the things that you want to do for yourself and the legacy you want to build. You know, I want my kids to be proud of me, and I want to inspire others. That's what I like to do. And
Yeah.
it makes me feel good.
Yeah. I think it's an overall win all around. I mean,
Yeah.
especially like you said, it allows your kids to say, man, look at what mom accomplished. What can
Mhm.
I do? Right.
Right.
It's not in spite of, it's she accomplished so much and was still a good human. I could do anything I want. Right. It
Right.
opens up limitless possibilities, no pun intended.
Right.
Like, it really is so freaking powerful to show up as yourself and to leave that legacy, not just waste that time being humdrum about whatever silly thing happened.
Yeah. While also preparing people for the setbacks too. I think that that's important, you know, like as you are building a legacy, and as you are, you know, creating, whether it's your podcast or whether it's your other career, or whatever you're doing, or whatever anybody's doing, it's really just trying to understand that on your way there are going to be setbacks. And that's something you don't really see on social media and with businesses or in relationships, in marriages. I mean, I'm married now 7 years, together 12 years, and we have 2 kids. There's setbacks in there's setbacks in everything. Relationships with your family, your siblings, you know, no matter how old you are, in business, whatever, there are setbacks. And I think as long as we share more, like, build whatever you want to build for yourself, but know that when a setback comes, you have to always say, you know, the universe has my back, the odds are in my favor, and trust in that setback. And I think that's important for the next generation, and because they just, and I think because of what they're being exposed to, that everything's kind of, you know, a quick overnight success. Like their little 14-year-old that has a Ferrari because he started a lemonade stand or something, and they're seeing it on Instagram, you know, like this like nonsense fake life that they are seeing these kids, you know. So
Yeah.
it's, I think it's important to talk about the setbacks without being negative and a Debbie Downer, you know,
100%.
or scaring them.
Yeah. No, and I think, it's what you said is so true, because, like you mentioned before, the whole reason why this show exists is because I prioritized the wrong version of success. I made success the house, the car, the money, not how I showed up. I had no relationship with my wife because I was never home. I had no relationship with my kids, again, never home. I was in the worst physical shape of my life. Like, and it was until that moment where I stood there in front of a half a birthday cake and realized, like, this isn't it. This is not what success is supposed to feel like. I'm not successful in terms of all the things that really mattered. And, you look at the examples that are portrayed and put on the internet as, hey, these are awesome because people want to pat themselves on the back, so they only share their highlights. Like, literally half an hour ago, while recording this podcast, my recording studio crashed and we lost video and audio. Like, literally in this episode, it failed.
It's true.
So
like, let's just roll with it. Whatever. He'll pop back in.
Yes, we made it work. And like, I fully have no intention of cutting that part out, right? Because it's real. This is real, raw human conversation, right? And it's one of the reasons why I don't script these shows or have a list of questions at a time.
Yeah, I like that.
This is supposed to be real people living real life. That's what we all are. And for us to be able to show up here and just be ourselves for an hour and like, you and I have never met.
No.
But to be able to sit here and have a conversation that hopefully one person will listen to and have a slightly better day, maybe change their path, right? The power of two people showing up and just being their authentic selves is so amazing. And I just want more people to kind of get permission to show up as themselves.
Right. And I give you so much credit for just even acknowledging that you showed up for half a birthday cake and that was not right. Like that, like something had to change. And that's what I was saying before is I know a lot, a good amount of guys that they can't see their kids grow up. They feel they can't, and you want to shake them and just say, hey, maybe you could do this or some consulting or that, like, as like entrepreneur, like I'm thinking of other things, like it's so easy. You have so many connections. You could just do something, like you have so many more connections than there's anybody starting a business. Think maybe something else where you could spend some time with your kids more, but you can only put it out there and not everybody has that moment like you had. And I don't know about you, but my kids are like my driving force now, It's like, it just gives me a different purpose in life,
Yeah, no, same. And I think even so much, like I look around at events I go to with my own kids, sporting events, whatever, and I look around at other parents I might be having a conversation with on the sidelines and see the struggles that they go through. And I wind up being the shoulder for a lot of people to lean on. We have these conversations. And I realize everyone's got these same struggles, right? We've all grown up with this or that type of thing that we've dealt with. And a lot of us are just grown-up kids who've never processed this stuff as when we were kids. And at the same time, I look out on their kids, my kids, who, right, they're a blank slate. So like, I want to take the opportunity right now to do what I can to break those generational curses so they don't get placed on our sons and daughters. Like for us to show up and protect our own kids, their kids, like we can do it. We just got to have the conversations. And I know sometimes those are hard, but for us to show up and have them changes the lives of so many flipping people. It's insane to me how we're not doing that.
I know. And you nailed it. They're just a blank slate, and you really can paint whatever you want on them. And I actually was just, because I am so big on like that positive self-talk while also giving yourself grace, knowing that not all your thoughts are going to be positive. I mean, we have let's just say 60,000 thoughts a day. How many of those thoughts are going to be positive? Who knows? But you want to give yourself grace while you do have those negative and doubtful thoughts that come in. And that's something that I definitely want to teach my kids while going back to liking themselves and who they are and everything they are, but not beating themselves up and going crazy for that negative thought, because then they're just going to sit in that. So as blank as they are, I want to give them everything I could. We want to in a positive manner, but I also want to let them know, like, you are going to have some negative thoughts. You are going to have some thoughts of doubt, but be easy on yourself. Be your own best friend. And then I could turn around and say, look at mommy. And I actually do it now with my 5-year-old, Carmela. She was she remembers when I drew the slides 2 years ago. She remembers when I got my first sample. She was part of it. She knows that these inserts are called Tibas. because they come in and out. It's the word habit spelled backwards. So she was the first one to say Tiba, trademark that name, Tibah. She knows what I'm going through with this, so that now I can say, look at mommy. There were so many people that said, you're going to make shoes. What do you have? You don't have any right to make shoes. So, and I did it, Carmela. Mommy's doing it. Like you can say stories that they believe, and you're not just like motivating them when you're not doing anything yourself. So you can create that little human that giving them everything we wish we had growing up at the end of the day. I mean, I feel that's what I'm giving. That's what I'm doing with her as much as possible. And my son, but Francesco, he's only 2. So, just make him feel like a rock star.
And it's so much more powerful because it's not just a story you're reading from a book. They're seeing it lived out every day. Right? So it's so relatable for them to be able to see you go through the struggles. I'm sure that there's times where your kids see you maybe feel defeated when a deal didn't go through or whatever it might be, but they see you kind of get back up, go back out and keep moving. And as they continue to grow up, that's what becomes the norm for them. Right? They see.
And I share that with her. We were going to get on this big news outlet, and then something didn't work out, whether it was, we missed it, or they didn't feel it was the right time for it. And I was bummed out, and you could tell I was bummed out at dinner, and I wasn't in a bad mood. I was just like not talking as much. We always do prayer, and we always played music in the background. We always have family dinner, almost every night. And we say what we're thankful for, and we're talking. I answer the questions. Sometimes I'll do games like I'll Google, like I'll have my phone under the table so she never sees my phone. I'll do dinner time questions, and like, if you could be a superhero, what superhero would you be and why? And we engage. I try to engage like that too. And I wasn't really talking at this dinner because I was pissed. I was upset. I was like, damn, it could have been such a big outlet, so quick for Limitless. And it didn't work out. And then I felt bad, but she's like, Mommy, what's wrong, Mommy? And I was like, now I'm like, oh, I'm a failure as a parent. But she knows something's wrong with me. Oh my gosh, she's going to be in therapy for me, But I told her, I said, somebody didn't want Limitless Slides for their show. And I'm just a little bummed out. She was like, it's okay, Mommy. It's going to be okay. I said, I know, I'm good. I'm good. We're going to be on a bigger show. And I made sure I went back into being myself. So I try to show that type of moment versus like, everything's just la-di-da and this house, the cool car, the whatever. Just make sure she knows it didn't come out of anywhere. Came through some ups and downs, but we push through and we make things happen.
That's going to serve them very well in life. I'll tell you that for sure. And
we'll see, have a podcast with them in 20 years and let's see what they say. No, I feel good about it. I do feel good about it.
Yeah. So I know we're running sort of low on time here. I'd love to ask you a couple other questions if I could before we do that. Sure. My first question for you would be, if you had one bit of advice to give someone today to have them just have a slightly better day, what would that be?
Give yourself grace and be easy on yourself. I think if you give yourself grace, you can manage those doubtful thoughts and those negative thoughts that pop up. And if you could be easy on yourself, then you'll have a better way of making it into a more positive thought about yourself. And when you have that positive thought, like that affirmation, like I am confident, I am worthy, connect it to a time that you felt really confident and you felt really worthy. And that's that evidence right there. So it's not just a froofy affirmation. Affirmations on bars of soap now. It's connecting, it's making it powerful, and real.
Yeah. That's so good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What does a successful life look like for you?
Feeling fulfilled in what I give to others, but also what I give to myself. I think people put shame on the word selfish, but I like the word selfish because I really want to take care of myself and feel good by whatever makes me feel good, whether it's alone time, whether it's running, whether it's just getting a massage or doing something for myself that makes me feel good. Then I could be a better version for others and I could really give my full self to those around me. And a successful life is that. It's It's family, it's giving back, it's helping others see their potential authentically and not losing that part of myself ever.
I am so glad that you said that, especially the self-care part, because I think that's such an important part that so many people guilt themselves on, is taking any time to take care of themselves. And especially as a mom, I think where you have so much responsibility to bear out for the family and for kids, it's so common to put yourself last on the list, where you're just giving everything you have to everyone else. But if you don't take the time to do good for you first, you can't be good for everybody else. And
You're
I
just
just
not
think that's
happy.
such a good conversation to have.
Yeah, you're just not happy. You feel like you lost yourself. You know, I have friends from high school. They don't even recognize themselves anymore. You know, they're just in the motherhood rat race. You know.
Yeah. And things like mom guilt are real, especially like as we're getting down to the end of summer here, getting ready to go back to school. It's easy to like feel like, oh, didn't do enough, or this should have been better, this should have been different.
Right.
But, to go back to your first point, to give yourself some grace and like realize the memories that were made, and to just continue to show up for yourself, and to, take care of yourself so you can continue to take care of the people around you.
100%.
Two really excellent points. So thank you for both of those.
Thank you.
My last question, you're welcome, would be, can talk about, I have cakes, going to talk about cake at some point. So my question for you is there a favorite flavor of cake that you have? And is there some type of memory associated with that?
Anything chocolate on chocolate on chocolate on chocolate. I'm a chocolate girl. A memory that I have of chocolate, which isn't, this actually is going to sound bizarre, but when I was little and my dad was alive, he died when I was 4 and a half. But I remember, when you have like random memories real young, I remember he put, not to say that this is why I like chocolate, but he put Hershey's syrup on his hand. And I'm 100% Italian. We're all very Italian family. And he's Italian, was Italian. And he put chocolate syrup on his hand. And he wiped like my leg. And he was like, Lee, you got cocky running down your leg. So I was like, what? Dad, no, I don't. And he put all chocolate syrup down my leg. And he's like, let me smell. And he acted like he smelled it. And then he tasted it. And I was like, yeah, what is that? I was so confused, but it was just like, it's not why I like chocolate, but it's a memory that I connect with chocolate. And then I did that to my daughter. And I stood her up in the mirror in the bathroom. And I had chocolate syrup, and I was like, Carmela, you got all chocolate running down your legs, and it is cool to see that. Only I know that memory. I did it with her, and I hope she has that memory of me now. So it's so funny that I connect those two, actually. But that's not why I like chocolate cake, because that'd be weird.
I think it goes to show the importance of the little moments. I'm trying not to cry through this, but like those little things that they don't make social media, they don't make the highlight reels, but like those little moments where you are present and you are intentional about just being with your family, is, to me, that's what success looks like. So
me too.
Thank you.
Oh man, me, Jim, what the hell are you doing? It is everything.
We keep it real.
Oh man, at the end of the day, I don't care what people have done with their life. That's what it's all about. Feeling fulfilled, being with your family, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I like talking to you, Jim.
Lisa, I want to honor you for this conversation. I want to honor you for continuing to show up as the inspirational person you are.
You too. Thank you.
Makes a difference.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Any way that we can continue to support you? Obviously, we got the Limitless Slides. Please let us know how.
This is a startup. So yes, please. Limitless Slides on social media. And then Lisa Rizzo with 3 O's on social media, especially Instagram. I do a lot of Instagram. So we are in the startup phases. I want to sell the hell out of these slides and build a movement. So limitlessslides.com too.
Perfect. I'll absolutely do that. Thank you again. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Jim.
My pleasure.